right? It works out great. But if not, I got to learn so much stuff and meet so many cool people and do uh, so much stuff. Like that's been my year. I get the feeling yours has been a lot tougher.
Yeah. Just trying. Well, I have elderly parents, and one of them's not doing so well. And then with COVID, not being able to see them because of dementia, they don't understand really why they can't come over and visit and see the grandchild. So it's been like a bit of an emotional roller coaster for sure.
Ah, that sucks.
Yeah.
My grandfather had dementia. It was an onset. He good and bad, I guess. He didn't go through it very long, but I remember my last conversation with him was a lot of fun, but it was also kind of very painful too. We had a lot of fun, and it was cool. I had him laughing, and we were playing cards, and we were having a great time. My dad's name's Tony, so at the end of our conversation, he called me Tony, and because I sound a lot like my dad, and I realized that for him, at least for a little bit, he forgot I was Josh, and he knew it too. It just that there's that moment where like the moment he said it, he knew like, oh no, it's not Tony, it's Josh. And my grandmother, I watched her. I remember she did her best, but dementia is such a difficult thing to deal with as a family member watching your someone you love slowly deteriorate. Not physically, you can kind of we all get older. We all understand that. Okay, right now I can lift a house. Now one day I might still be able to lift that house, but I'm going to need a very long nap afterwards, and that's part of life. But mental deterioration is so difficult to watch because there's not it's hard, right? So
because he's aware it's happening, so
yeah,
he's frustrated and
yeah. And the worst part is, and this year especially, what makes it really hard is the basics. And by the way, if I'm rubbing salt in the wound, let me know. We can definitely move on to something else. The worst part about this year is if you have a parent that's going through dementia, you can't see them, right? When you do see them again, I mean, they're not. I mean, it's almost like in one way they're going to be a different person, not completely, but they'll have deteriorated a little bit more, and that's always, that's a terrifying thing. It really, really is. And my grandfather's case, he didn't have it for very long because he passed on. He passed on, and so he still had most of his faculties intact. But I saw the toll it was taking on him. I can only imagine what it's taking on them now. I don't know how long they've had it, so my condolences, I guess. I don't know if this helped or hindered or it is what it is. But
well, hopefully sometime next year with this all clear up and we can at least visit and have some
I hope so.
family connection.
Well, next year, right? I mean, I think regardless of how things go next year, the lockdown aspect of this is going to come to an end. I think mentally speaking, we've all kind of hit a magic limit of, this sucks. And that's kind of, I think, where we're all kind of at right now. I don't know where you're at specifically about it, but that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, yeah, I don't know if people can. I don't know if we can sustain this another year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, work-wise, it's been okay because we work in a lab. We've got our own little bubble, and we don't really see too many different people anyway. So it's like go in, do what I have to do there, come home, do my paperwork at home. So that's been okay. But like grocery shopping, getting food to my parents and that kind of thing has been not so much fun.
No, it's not. It's an interesting. It's a weird time. Like we're definitely in this like weird abyss. On the plus side, I think if there is a plus side, I think when this is over, no one's going to want to read a dystopia. Not for any, not for any length of time. Different science fiction will come to the forefront. And like, so have you been able to write at all this year? Like, because I know this has been a very unusual year, but
a little bit. I mean, my biggest barrier right now has just been like the mental fatigue. You know, just trying to maintain like 2 families plus a full-time job, and just finding like the mental energy to write. I mean, I've plotted out another book, but I haven't really like had time to work on it and flesh it out and that kind of thing. So I mean, I'm excited about it. I like the story, but every time you sit down to write, you're just so mentally exhausted that I'm hoping like over the Christmas break I'll be able to recharge the batteries a little bit and get going on it. I don't want to wait too long between books because that's never good.
no, no, your voice changes, right? I find like with books, like for me, I have these great ideas in my head, but I realize I have a time limit within my head. Like I have 3 years, I figure, because in 3 years, I will be a different Joshua Pantalleresco. I'll still be me, but I'll have layers and nuances I didn't have, and I'll be like this. I'll be this different person, and I still can write the story, but you can't feel the story the same way, right? It's like
Not necessarily a bad thing though. Like the very first book I wrote, Longevity Thesis, 10 years later, got chit-chatting with the Dragon Moon Press publisher Gwen Gates and decided to rewrite it and get a new cover and everything. And the voice changed a little bit, but the way it was reading from 10 years ago, I thought, well, that's not really what I was trying to say. And just the feedback I was getting from people, I understood that I wasn't really getting my meaning across. So I mean, because it's an independent press and I had the freedom to rewrite certain parts of it, I went for it. But whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm happy about it. I feel good about it. I think
right.
the character is a little truer than before.
Was it easy? Like, was it easy for you to?
It was because, like, that was the first book, and if you remember the first book you wrote, like, it's a little bit muddled, and you don't really understand how to carry a story arc through and how to structure a story. So, I mean, the characters still live in my head, and it was just, I just had so much clarity when I was writing. Plus, I already had the structure of the original book, so rewriting it was actually very, very satisfying. Like, I don't know, like, what the downstream response or how it would be received is, well, what that would be like. But, you know, for me, I think it was a good thing. I feel like I just did a better job of it and just made it closer to what I initially wanted in the beginning.